Alrighty, folks. You heard from Bryce earlier this morning about the upcoming winter system. Now it's my turn to give you a little bit of input on what we think has changed and what's going to be heading our way. We're finally starting to hone in on what impacts we anticipate across our area, especially snowfall totals, when we expect to see that transition occur during the overnight hours early this week, Monday into Tuesday, and when it becomes eventually just all snow for us. Who gets the most? Where are going to be some places that don't get a whole lot? We'll break all that down for you in just a little bit. And of course, the travel impacts that come with it as well. Let's talk about what we've experienced throughout the area today. And of course, what we've got going on out there right now. I mean, a lot of folks, a whole lot of folks across the area are just seeing cloud cover, experiencing cold air, but things have dried out from what we got yesterday. You look at Seymour in the bottom right-hand corner there, you'll notice that there is no snow on the ground, on the grass, on the rooftops anymore. They picked up on close to an inch of snow up in that direction yesterday, and we knew that would be a spot that would most likely pick up on a majority of it compared to the rest of our area, but it all faded very quickly and melted away very fast because last night those temperatures were climbing. So they were down below freezing at the start of that snow event and then popped up a good 5, 6, 7 degrees overnight. And that, of course, melted all that snow away very, very quickly. Many of us started off the day in the 40s and then have dropped from there. We're sitting in the upper 20s, low 30s right now. Just about nobody above the freezing mark at this point. We're at 32 in Litchfield. That's one of our warmest spots. Temperatures in southern Indiana even colder, of course, pulling in at 26 in Bedford, 28 in Austin, Carrollton, just across the river back into Kentucky, sitting at 30 degrees. 44 is where we got to in Louisville today. Now, you're probably thinking it really didn't feel like it was up there in the 40s, although mid 40s, upper 30s, who really knows the difference, right? If you're just going outside and doing this number, there's not a ton of difference, but it was a chilly one all day long. That 44-degree high temperature came just after midnight. So we talk about a midnight high around here. That means that you're going to start the day off as soon as the clock strikes midnight, warmer there than the rest of the day is going to be. And our low temperature of 33 probably just happened within the past couple of hours or so here across Louisville. Our average low on a typical day bottoms out around 35. So we were pretty close to that, but it's that high temperature that we were almost 10 degrees off in most places. And again, that was after midnight. Our daytime high during the afternoon couldn't even get out of the mid 30s. One thing that was sitting in the mid 30s were our wind gusts here across Kentucky. And in fact, some places topped out around 40. And then you go to Cincinnati, you see a 52 mile per hour gust there today. Indianapolis at 43. Windy City of Chicago, not quite as windy as Cincy, pulling in at 32 up there. So super gusty winds on the backside of the system. Of course, that just adds extra bite to the chill that's already there. So here's that cold front that slid on through. It's already well to the east of our area. We're feeling the impacts now. I mean, we've been feeling them all day long. But it's not really this last system that we're concerned with because it's already by, right? Let's talk about the next one that's out to the west. High pressure will settle in tonight and into tomorrow. That is going to help cool things down. It's driving in winds from the northwest, so we're seeing those temperatures drop overnight tonight back to the 20s. But that big red L, that area of low pressure over the Rockies, that doesn't look like much yet, but it will be the next big system moving across the U.S., a nice clipper that has some moisture with it, not a whole ton to work with, and also colder air on the northern side. Now, those two, the colder air to the north and this moisture from the south, are going to connect, but maybe not really well. I think if they were able to really jam up next to each other, we'd be talking about some serious snowfall around here. However, that's probably not going to be the case, as in not a significant storm system. We're not talking a whole lot, but we are talking impactful snow. Now, for some folks, whatever we get is going to be a lot of snow, and you just don't like it either way. Others, you're really excited about what's coming our way here. I do think that this will be an impactful system. I do think that there's the potential for lots of slushy roads. Some folks probably don't even want to leave their house in this stuff. But do we know if schools are going to close just yet? No. Do we know what the city's ready for right now? I personally don't. Haven't been in talks with officials about that just yet. But I know that we're going to be keeping folks updated on how many plows are going to be out there, when we're going to be salting and that sort of thing. Unfortunately, with this setup, there is potential that if we salt a little too early and we have rain coming in first, that's going to wash some of that stuff away. So that's some of the problems that we're going to be running into. During the day on Monday, mostly cloudy, temperatures are going to be sitting in the 30s all day long. I don't think anybody, at least not north of the parkways, gets out of the or into the 40s. Maybe some of our far southern communities are able to do that. Most of the rest of us not. Monday evening, that's when we start to see the rain move in and the sleet and the ice pellets and snow as well. Now, some of us are going to see primarily, if not entirely, snow out of this system and not a drop of rain. Others will get almost all rain for the first half of this, and then it's a transition over to snow, and that'll be Tuesday morning where we'll see everybody transitioning over to that snowfall, and that ends early on the day on Tuesday. So here's what we're anticipating, just to draw you a map here first with this upcoming system to start. This is late on Monday, so Monday evening, Monday night. Specifically Monday evening, though, before the clock strikes midnight. We're talking rain in the southern third of our area, then a transition zone with some mix, the ice pellets. Not going to rule out some freezing rain, but I don't think that's going to be a big issue for us. That's probably the lowest tier level issue on our list here. So some sleet, ice pellets in the mix there for central third of our area, and then north of the river, it's going to be mostly, if not entirely, snow in the mix. And I do want to see if you guys have any questions, throw them into the chat. Here we go. Yes, lots of questions already coming in. Folks are excited about snow. They want to know when the snow is starting. So I'll time that out for you in just a second here. And Lewis is saying not ready for any sort of accumulation whatsoever. Well, you're probably going to see some. In fact, when I say probably, I mean it's a near guarantee for you. So let's talk about moving into Tuesday. Well, we know that Monday night is that mix and that rain and that slushy snow, and then turning it over to an all snow scenario, likely accumulating snow just before sunrise, and then just some flurries that are left over there. This ends really early on Tuesday, but I still think that it's going to be tacking on some totals for our early morning commuters. So Monday morning, no worries whatsoever. I mean, yeah, you're cold. Bundle up before heading out the door. But Tuesday morning, you've already got snow on the ground and more is still falling at that point. It'll just really start to lighten up. So let's walk you through tonight, where temperatures are going to be hovering in the upper 20s for pretty much all of us, mid-20s in some locations that are the coldest. That number on the left is the actual temperature. The number on the right is your feels-like temperature. That feels-like temperature is going to be down in the teens for quite a few folks out there. So not enjoyable. I know some of us would prefer not to experience that, but I do think that that is going to be the likelihood in our coldest spots, is that we still feel like we're somewhere around 16, 17, 18 degrees to start off the day. Then we see a transition to that rain, snow, sleet mix. So the day starts off dry. This model, I think, is running a little bit early by probably 2 or 3 hours with the start of the rain. As long as we still have some dry air in play, which we should at the beginning of this, a lot of that will evaporate before ever getting to the ground. That's what happened with the last system. We talked about evaporation, sublimation, where snow was falling around and just before noon on Sunday or on Saturday. However, we weren't seeing it at the surface. So it was falling through the atmosphere, running into dry air, and because of that, sublimation process was happening where a lot of it was turning directly from snow into a gaseous state or water vapor. And what it was doing was it was priming the air. It was moistening up the atmospheric column in the lower levels for the rest of that snow to eventually make it to the ground, or that rain to make it to the ground, sleet pellets as well. So that's what we had on Saturday. I think that's probably what will happen at the start of this event Monday evening. So it may be falling, probably not making it to the ground. However, deeper we go into Monday evening, more likely it is that stuff actually gets down to the surface. So here's a scenario where we've got rain, we've got sleet, and we've got snow across our area. Who's most likely to see what? Based on what we've seen so far, the trends, is that south of the 64 corridor has a really decent chance of starting off with just rain, right? And then just about anybody could see the mix, and only our northern counties are going to see an all snow scenario to begin. That'll last through about midnight, 11. Then we really start to see things transition after midnight, and it becomes almost entirely just a few of our southern counties getting that rain, a little bit of that mix in there right along the parkways, and then you go north of the parkways and it has become snow at that point, and accumulating snowfall for quite a few folks. Now, I do think that because the greater moisture content is going to be closer, let's say south of the Kentucky parkways, I think that the further north you go, the lower your snowfall totals are going to end up being. Although you are in all snow scenario, you're just a little bit further removed from the moisture. And because of that, if you don't have moisture but you still have cold air, yeah, you're going to squeeze out some stuff, some of the flakes and everything, but you're not going to see as high of snowfall accumulations in that direction. And we'll reflect that in a map later on. Going through the early morning hours on Tuesday, let's say that you get up real early for work. Quite a few of us before 5 a.m. are still going to have snow falling across the area, and this could still be accumulating snowfall. I think most of the accumulating snowfall comes to an end by about 7, maybe as late as 8 o'clock. From there, maybe just some flurries with a little bit of moisture left behind and that cold air, and we're still close enough to the system that we're getting some flurries to fly, but accumulation's not likely from that point. So when we're talking accumulating snowfall, we're going to start off with that mainly in southern Indiana Monday late in the evening. Then it transitions to north central Kentucky getting that snow and still getting rain to the south through about 1, 2, 3 a.m. And then after 3 a.m., that's when it becomes an all snow scenario. And even our southern communities are going to be getting snow from about 3 to maybe 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning. Again, we're going to go back to the chat, see what we've got going on here. Tina's saying, got to work regardless. Us too. We'll be in, whether it means that we got to get here early or just have to fight through the snow. We'll be here keeping an eye on it. Let's see. Calling it now. They're saying 1/10 of an inch of ice, 3 inches of snow. We'll see what happens with that ice accumulation. I don't think that it is going to be the biggest issue for us, though. I think that snow is going to be more of a problem across our area. So Shepherdsville, Kentucky, you're going to be right in that transition zone. So you're going to start off with the wintry mess, and then transitioning over to snow pretty early in the night, likely around midnight or 1 a.m., and then you'll have an all snow scenario from there. So let's go to the next thing. Snow outlook. How much are we anticipating? Well, I think it is a near guarantee that pretty much everyone in our viewing area is going to get an inch of snow. A near guarantee. I mean, I'm talking like a 95% chance that you get an inch of snow. Now, does that mean that an inch of snow is on the ground when all is said and done? Not necessarily. That really is dependent on our temperatures, because an inch of snow could fall, but maybe you only end up with a ½ inch there that's left over when all is said and done. Well, if you've got a little bit of rain in the mix, or your air temperature at the surface is a little bit higher than what that snow was falling through first in the atmospheric column, it starts to melt. So instead of having an actual inch on the ground, you may end up with a ½ inch. But a full inch of snow will have probably fallen for everyone once all is said and done in this 12 to 15 hour period. Then I think up to 2 inches is very likely for many of us. I'd give it about a 50% chance that you see 2 inches of snow. But we're not going to stop there. I think that there are going to be some pockets of heavier snow, parts of Kentucky, north central Kentucky, up into northern Kentucky, up near Cincinnati. Pretty decent chance of 3+ inches of snow. Some models are spitting out around 4 inches. Again, that doesn't mean that there's 4 inches on the ground, but 4 inches will have fallen, and then some of it does melt a little. Also central Indiana, I think that that's a spot that could see 3+ inches of snow, because it's all snow up there the entire time. Where there is a little bit of a transition zone in southern Indiana, and you're a little bit further removed away from the moisture content that we have with this system, closer to the center of it, I do think that some of our southern Indiana counties don't pick up on as much as even some of our Kentucky counties. So kind of an odd scenario, but that's what I'm banking on at this point. So some places where you're a little further away from the moisture and you've got a little bit of rain to start rather than all snow, those are spots that'll be on the lower end of the snowfall totals, but still 1 to 2 inches of snow in those areas, impactful on the roads, especially the back roads. So if you're waking up early on Tuesday morning and you're hitting the roadways and you're on one of those backcountry roads, take it extra slow for us. And even if you're on the interstate, even the well-traveled roads, this is our first bigger snow of the year. Now, we did have one earlier in the year where some places picked up on a quick inch and a half, maybe 2 inches of snow. I think over in Meade County, there was around an inch or more of snow in that direction, and schools closed for the day. I can't remember what other counties had closed with that first quick hitting snow system earlier in November. Um, but this one will be bigger than that. I think it will be more impactful. Hopefully, crews are even more ready for this one than that last one, because that was just a taste of what we're going to be getting for this winter. So, when I say 3+ inches of snow possible, that's not me saying that the bottom of the rung is 3 inches. I still think even in that blue area, it's going to be widespread 1 to 2, with pockets of 3+ inches of snow. Outside of that blue area, I think you have a significantly lower chance of getting over 2 inches of snowfall. So that's how I've outlined it for now. I know Jude is going to make some adjustments in the morning, but this is how things look based on the data at this point. And we do look at a lot before we go into all of this stuff. Michael's saying that ground temperature should be low enough that we support some of this stuff. Yes, I absolutely think that that because we've had so many cold days, so many nights down in the 20s, so many days sitting in the 30s, that our ground temperatures don't need to cool off hardly at all in order to get snow. So once it starts falling, it will start sticking, and not much of it melts initially. But as long as air surface temperatures are just above freezing, a little bit of that snow does melt. Not a ton, but a little bit. And of course, when you have rain falling on it as well, it does compact that quite a bit too. Let's see. Meade and Hardin County, you guys are one of those spots that I do think are going to be sitting right along that 2 to maybe 3 inch at most line in that direction, Meade to Hardin County. But I think that 1 to 2 is pretty much a guarantee in those areas as well. Anita, I think, is what it says up there. You're asking, am I saying that there's for sure 3 inches of snow in Louisville? Not for sure. It's possible. There are going to be pockets within that blue area that we pick up on 3 inches or more of snow. But the most likely scenario, unless you get one of those very heavy bands, is that you'll stop right around 2 to maybe 2.5. Is there a huge difference between 2.5 inches of snow and 3? No, not impacts wise. Anywhere between 2 and 3 inches of snow is going to basically do the same thing on the roadways as it is just about anything else. It's just how many times do the snow plows have to come through and clear things out once you get beyond that mark. And you're welcome, Anita. What about Borden, Indiana? I think that you're another one of those spots in southern Indiana where it's not going to be as heavy snow in that direction. Could that change? Yeah, all of these models are going to be pushing things a little north, a little south with each run that they go through. That snow line, that wintry mix line, where that moisture content comes up, how far it comes up from the south. So it could change for Borden, but I think that you're probably one of those spots that falls in a pretty healthy 1 to 2 inch range. Shively, similar situation as Louisville. Can't rule out 3 inches of snow, most likely 1 to 2. Any threats to power outages with this mix? When you're talking freezing rain accumulations on power lines and making things fall or making branches fall on power lines, I'm not saying it's impossible for a tree branch to fall, especially if things get a little bit breezy. That is, I think, a less likely scenario. We're not talking an ice storm here. It's not an 09 situation. It's not even the situation we had last year earlier this year in January. It's not even that type of situation. We're not talking tenths of an inch, half inch of ice here causing tree branches to fall, power outages. It's going to be cold, and I can't say that a power outage won't happen for someone, but it's not a widespread and likely scenario for us. Southern Scott County, again, I think that you're one of those spots that's probably going to fall within 1 to 2. You may get just a little bit more than 2 since you're closer to the river. And in Scottsburg, Indiana, I think that you're in that white zone where it's going to be the widespread 1 to 2 inches of snow, but unlikely to see a lot more than that. Not to say that it's not going to shift some. It's just based on the data that we're looking at right now. Jude will have those latest snowfall totals for you in the morning and the timeline of the transition over to all snow as well. And then we're going to update that again when Mark and Rick are in the studio in the evening and especially late at night. Once we get to Monday evening, we're really going to have an idea because that system is already rocking and rolling and probably going to be in Western Kentucky, we'll really have an idea of pretty much exactly what you can anticipate. This right now is trying to give you the best idea based on what we know for now, but things are going to be changing over the next 24 hours. So from when you hear from me now to where you hear from Mark and Rick tomorrow, I'm sure that they'll be doing a live as snow starts to fall. They will have a better idea of where the heaviest of it is going to fall, where things are going to be most impactful and treacherous starting off on Tuesday morning. One thing I do want to point out is that we haven't seen, and I'll have to search for this really quick, but we have not seen any winter weather alerts come out just yet. I'm going to leave this map up for you here as I do a little search for a winter weather alert. But again, you're probably wondering, what am I going to see in my place? Look at the cities around you, and if you know what county you're in, just try and base that off over the next few minutes. Base your question off of the colors that we have on the map. So the blue means pockets of heavier snow, 3+ inches possible. In the white, that means widespread 1 to 2, less likely to see more than 2 inches of snow at that point. So that's what we have going on right now. So let's get through. We may have just lost it. All right, we're going to pull graphics back up in just a second here. I think that we lost the connection, but it's coming back up in just a second. In fact, maybe we just lost our connection with the, we just lost our connection with the internet. Would you look at that? All right. And we will be back. There we go. All right. Give me about 20 seconds. Keep throwing those questions in there. Will it stick to pavement or just grassy areas? Shauna, I believe, is what that says. Yeah, Shauna asking about the grassy areas versus pavement. You may have noticed yesterday when we were talking about the snow up in Seymour that a lot of it was just on the rooftops and the grass. This is not that scenario. Our air surface temperatures are going to be cold enough, and our ground surface temperatures are going to be cold enough that we will see snow stick to everything. All things are in play here, and that snowfall is going to be impactful for the roadways for sure. I think you're going to have to start breaking out the shovels. If you don't already have one, maybe go ahead and grab one, because I think that this snow is actually going to stick around for a little bit. Temperatures on Tuesday will definitely be impacted by it, because when you have snow on the ground and sunshine hitting it, and it's hitting that snow rather than your typical earth, pavements, things like that, you're not going to warm up as much. In fact, it's called the albedo effect. So the sunshine hits that white snow and reflects back out into the atmosphere. We're not drawing in that long wave radiation, or short wave radiation. So we're not going to be holding on to it and keeping things warm. Heat goes right back out, up toward the sky. So temperatures on Tuesday will probably be even colder than what we were initially thinking, because these snowfall totals are starting to go up a little bit. So still looking for that graphic that I was telling you guys about. I might have it right here. Let me see. Nope, not that one. All right. So this is what I want to point out. Winter weather alerts out to our west. This is a winter weather advisory in effect for western Kentucky, parts of southern Indiana, parts of southern Illinois. Notice who's not included in that. Any of us. Not a single one of us included in that winter weather advisory. That's for basically impactful snow up to maybe 2 inches, and maybe some freezing rain out in that direction. Lower chance for them, better chance down in Arkansas. But again, we don't have one in effect just yet. I think that one is probably coming out later tonight. I did talk or see where the National Weather Service said in their little group chat that they're looking at the latest data at 00Z, which means basically over the next hour, they're analyzing the latest round of data coming in, and then they're going to put out a winter weather advisory if necessary based on that. When you have the potential for 3+ inches of snow, you're going to get a winter weather advisory. So if they don't issue one tonight, I'd be very surprised by that. They're usually very on top of these things, and we'll have one out because, of course, with the first decent snow system moving through for this time of year, want to alert the public for this is what's coming your way. These are the travel implications that it's going to have, and whatever else may come along with it. So, all right. Potential icy roads on Wednesday due to refreezing from the overnight lows. Michelle, I can't rule that out, but I think that that's basically what we're going to anticipate is just like after any snow system, that as long as crews are out there, they've got salt on the roadways and they've scraped all that stuff off, I think most of us are going to be okay, especially the well-traveled roads. But the spots that don't have snow plows hit them and things like that, that's where things will still be treacherous, especially on Wednesday morning. So just take it slow. Tuesday and into Wednesday, we'll eventually see temperatures warm back up and get some of our overnight lows above freezing. Daytime highs are going to be sitting in the 40s a couple days this week. So that's where we'll see a lot of our melting happening. But I do think that it'll probably be a good 24 to 48 hour period that we have snow on roads that are not well traveled, especially. Have we locked down a timeline for this? Will the evening commute be impacted on Monday? That question coming in from can't see it, Natasha, I believe is what that says. Natasha, I think that Monday's impacts are going to be pretty limited to the later evening hours. Not to say that a little bit of rain can't happen beforehand, but Monday evening commute, Monday afternoon commute should be good unless the models start to trend that timeline up. I at this point, I've only seen one model run that has brought that timeline a little bit, earlier in the day on Monday, but most of it should be happening after the afternoon or evening commute. Let's go into Tuesday morning where this snow is wrapping up. We'll talk about what's happening after it since some folks want to know about those temperatures afterward. Remember, I said that Tuesday temperatures are going to be colder than what we were initially anticipating because of that snowfall on the ground and whatever cloud cover's left over. So the sunshine's being blocked out by clouds, and whatever makes it through, hitting the ground, reflecting right back out, or hitting the snow. And because of the albedo effect, reflecting right back out into the atmosphere. It's a cold night heading into Wednesday. So if roads are still wet, possibility of things refreezing back over. Of course, if there is salt on the roadways, we should have that should be good news for us. We should keep things dry. I think Wednesday, Thursday, some of the models throw out some flurries at us. It's not until probably Friday where we have another decent chance of getting some snow and some rain returning. Now, this system, there's a lot of questions about this one. No agreement on it just yet, but many models do point to another round of wintry mess potential coming our way to end out the work week. So you get some dry time mainly on Wednesday and Thursday, and then it's potentially right back to it with another winter system. Speaking of winter, it's definitely not done with us yet. This next week, every single high temperature that we will have will be below average. Most of our low temperatures at or below average. And then that's going to last for the week after as well. This just coming out from the Climate Prediction Center earlier this evening, saying in the 8 to 14 day forecast, there is about a 33 to I think it's 45% chance that we're going to be below average or colder than what we would tend to see. Not to say that also, some people look at this and say, if it says a 50% chance of being below average, does that mean a 50% chance of being above average? Not quite. That's not exactly what we're saying here. We're saying that it's significantly more likely that you will be cooler than it is that you're going to be warmer or even at average for this time of year going into the next 7 days after this cold 7 days that we have coming toward us. Will Wednesday's commute be bad? It's possible. I know that you have to go to work. People are just wondering how long is this going to last. Again, whatever falls, I think sticks around all day Tuesday unless plows and cars that travel over that stuff and the salt that's down, unless that's able to get it off a little bit faster. But whatever falls is going to stick around from Tuesday into Wednesday, and then should see some melting on Wednesday as we get those temperatures to warm up some. All right. And I think that's about it. Most of these are repeat questions. What about Friday? I know a lot of folks just saw that pop up there. Friday, we're still hammering out details there. I think that there is potential for another wintry mix scenario. Probably not all snow, probably not all rain. There is a lot going into this because that center of low pressure, it hasn't yet made it onto land. And when it's still out over open water out in the Pacific, Um, there's a lot that the models don't have a grip on just yet. So that will highly determine, especially when you're 5+ days out, highly impact where that low ends up. And where that low ends up over our area highly impacts exactly what we see. Is it all rain, all snow, or is it a mix? So for now, I think that it's safe to say that we'll have a mix over our area again, but it could swing one way or the other, where it goes a little further south, becomes all snow, or if that low's a little further north, we're a touch warmer and it's an all rain scenario. Do I think it'll be bad Friday? We just don't know yet. Okay, so there's still a lot of details that we're hammering out on that one. Thank you guys for joining us again. We're going to be on air today, DRB. If I think that we should have sports done by that point, so it should be on WDRB. If it's not, then it's WBKI tonight at 10 o'clock. We want to see you guys there. We're going to put out another little video, our typical app update, somewhere around 8:30, 9 o'clock, with whatever extra data comes in, and that might be the point when the National Weather Service puts out their advisory. Usually they try and do that before about 24 hours out from an event, at least, especially if they're feeling pretty confident about it. So that's when I think that they'll probably put that winter weather advisory out. For snowfall totals, 1 to 2 inches, pretty widespread, up to 3, maybe 4 inches possible in the highest spots. Just some pockets of that 3 to 4 inch range. Not a lot of us are going to be seeing that much, though. So still really honed in on a 1 to 2 inch widespread snowfall, up to 3, maybe up to 4 at most. So this will be an impactful event. This will, I think, cause some issues for plenty of issues for folks on the roadways. Crews will be out. They're doing their thing. They'll clear things out. They'll get that salt down on the roadways when it's the right time to do so. Of course, we don't want it to wash away, but those crews know how to handle those situations properly. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. I don't see any other Georgetown, Indiana area. You're going to be, let me show you guys that snow map one more time. We'll go through 3 maps here. So this is how things are going to start out for us. And the green is rain, and the pink is mix, and in the white, mainly snow. This is how things will start out Monday evening and Monday early in the night, especially right around midnight. From there, once we get past midnight, it starts to transition, and when you wake up on Tuesday morning, you've still got some snow falling, mostly flurries, but accumulating snow for those getting up before sunrise. And it'll be an all snow scenario for those of us across southern Indiana and central Kentucky that are still getting it at that point, accumulating snow possible before sunrise. And that snow outlook, widespread 1 to 2 inches of snow. And for those that are wondering who could see 3+ inches, we're talking along either side of the parkways in central and northern Kentucky, north of 64, pretty decent chance of 3+ inches of snow up there. And then pockets of 3+ inches of snow closer to Indianapolis as well. In between those two areas, there is going to be a spot in southern Indiana that I think just sticks in that 1 to 2 inch range and avoids the 3-inch spot because, it's just we don't have as much moisture in that region, and there will be a transition time at the beginning from rain over to snow. And as long as it's falling as rain, it's not going into our snowfall totals. Again, just to reiterate, when you see these totals on here and you see 3+ inches possible, that doesn't guarantee that you're going to be the one to get more than 3 inches of snow. And not only that, it's only going to be a few places that get it. And you could have 3 inches of snow fall, but not end up with 3-inch snow depth on the ground, because some of it does melt, does compact. If a little rain falls on top of it as well, that helps compact things too. So you may walk outside after getting 3 inches of snow and it looks like it's only 2. That's just what happens sometimes in events like this. Later this year, I'm sure that we'll get an all snow scenario when we say that you get 6, 7, 8, 9 inches of snow, that you really walk out to the nice fluffy stuff and it ends up that way. This is just one of those messier, slushier type of scenarios that we'll have here. Again, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Cannot wait for this system to come through for all of our snow lovers. If you're one of those that hates the snow, you're just going to have to deal with it. See that most of this melting Wednesday into Thursday, and then another round of potential wintry mess to end out this next work week. Thanks, you guys.